sports fans from all around the globe. My name is Riley Magnuson. This is East Coast Sports Investors Closing Bell for Monday, May 1st. Check the comments. TJ, you are first one in here. Happy May, my friend. Happy May to everyone joining us here. I know Jeff Dawson tweeted it out. The run that they've been on wasn't, one of their profitable weeks. First non-profitable week in a long time, but a 17-3-3 run as far as weeks are concerned for the ACSI family. So shout out to Jeff Dawson and everyone involved in that. And getting started for a new week, new month here on May 1st. Evenings in Connor as well. I am solo tonight for this evening, and as I usually mention, this is going to be fairly short and sweet. Only a handful of MLB games left on the docket, 5 or 6, I think, on top of obviously the couple NBA games. One NHL game, which I can't really break down too much for you. I'm not the NHL guy. I will at least mention it. What's up, Billy? Happy to have you guys here. If anyone else has any thoughts on tonight's NHL game, we'll touch on it for a moment because it's obviously Game 7. It's a standalone tonight. I've got a, just for popcorn, S's and G's, I've had a New York Rangers future in my wallet for a while as far as my Patrick Kane fandom is concerned. So that is where my heart lies tonight. We can get to that in a second. However, as far as baseball, let's see, 6 games left. One already doubleheader. Game 1, Atlanta and the Mets already in the tank. 9-8 Atlanta victory there. And Game 2 already going now, 0-0, middle of the second between those two there. I believe that was McGill versus Charlie Morton for the Braves. So if anyone had any thoughts on that one, kind of a back and forth first game. I saw the Braves had a nice, comfortable lead, I think, for a good chunk of that game. And then it was a little topsy-turvy after that. So well, let's get started right into MLB. Apologies to anyone that's looking for NBA action. We can get to that in a second. Obviously, Sixers and Celtics, not as exciting tonight as we would hope it to be with no Embiid. Pretty large spread there. But obviously, Game 2 of Nuggets and Suns should be a really good one. Hopefully, that is a really nice series. Coming to an end after a nice weekend of concluding some of the series from the first round and getting started on series number 2 yesterday. So good games and good series there. Obviously, Miami taking Game 1 from the Knicks. Trying to get to either of those two teams in the Eastern Conference Finals. So makes that Celtics-Sixers series that much bigger, and obviously with no Embiid in Game 1. Interesting to see where you go. And then as far as the Heat are concerned, probably not going to see Jimmy Butler in Game number 2. So interested to see where that's concerned. You missed Mr. Dawson giving you his I'm not honestly sure. I haven't been looking to see if there's anything going on today. But missed Mr. Dawson giving the commisseratory speech for the Boston Bruins choking the Game 7. Best record in the or most points in the NHL all season long, and botched Game 7. Not the only ones though. Obviously, the Avalanche, defending champs, go down. So that maybe that softens the blow for Bruins fans. But I feel it for you. That one, obviously, it's tough to go out that early when you have teams like that, or you're trying to defend in Colorado's case. So. Nonetheless, moving on, like we said, we'll be talking about that Rangers-Devils game just a little bit. So if anyone's got any comments as far as that one, please jump in, because I am certainly no expert on NHL. Got my fandom, and that's about it, but we can talk about it. So then to knock out these baseball games really quick, let's dive into it. First one up, or one of the first ones up here that obviously I mentioned two already either are in the tank or are on its way to be in there. Cubs versus Nats is an interesting one here. Obviously, Nationals have been struggling, will continue to struggle, 10-17. Hosting the Cubs in this one, Drew Smyly, Mackenzie Gore on the mound for these two today. Cubs about minus 130, 135, I believe. Nationals about plus 115 at this point. Opened closer to a not quite a pick'em, but closer to a pick'em. Cubs about minus 120 at opening. So honestly, to give you without looking at it from the surface, I can understand. Obviously, you would probably favor the Cubs in this on paper. Looking into it a little bit more, at least from a Washington offensive standpoint, maybe you don't know what to expect from Mackenzie Gore. I can absolutely hear that. But Drew Smyly's case, last 4 has been at least solid, 2 earned runs or less. A lot of them have been at home. You look back at last year, and his splits on the road were much worse than they were at home. So in general, I think you're going to see some Drew Smyly regression. Whether that's today or coming soon, I would feel comfortable saying it's today, not just because he's due for some regression. He's been good, but also on the road. I want to say he had over a 4 ERA on the road last season. So far, I think he's only had a couple, one kind of mediocre, one okay. I would say, obviously, it's a tough pill to swallow with the Nats, whether you're betting on the Nats money line or their team total. I don't know what you would feel comfortable with, because I don't mind the team total. I'm not sure what the odds. We can look up the odds here in a second. The money line, I would lean towards the Nationals actually winning this game. Gore is kind of a question mark a little bit at this point in himself. If you're not familiar, he's been a solid prospect the last few years, 24 years old. Numbers-wise, ERA-wise, if that's what you're looking at paper, 3 ERA, hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in a start this year. He's had some walk issues, though. 16 walks, at least 2 in each start. 3 of his 5 starts with 4 walks. So got some walk issues for Mackenzie Gore. So that is kind of where I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on, maybe the Nationals do get to Drew Smyly for 6-7 runs, but maybe Mackenzie Gore is due for some regression in and of himself. He has been good outside of the walks as far as limiting hits, keeping runners out of the score sheet. On last start out, had 4 hits, 1 earned run, only 2 walks. So last time was good. His best start of the season, 10 Ks. So maybe you see more of that, and that's another reason why this line might smell a little fishy to you. I am leaning towards the Nationals getting the win, and I do kind of like the Nationals to put up some runs today. So I kind of saved it for didn't save the best for last by any means, because this is probably one of the ones that I feel better about today. But that was one of the MLB games that kind of stood out to me in this one. And as far as team totals, you got to pay. It's tougher to pay the team total price. You're not getting plus money like we like to do on a team total over 3.5 minus 115, which I don't love. But I think the Nats are going to get some runs today. First 5 innings, maybe I'd like them first 5 innings. Get plus 110 price. Maybe if if Mackenzie Gore regressed a little bit, maybe that's after the 5th inning, the 3rd time through the lineup or something like that. He hasn't had much of a long leash. I don't think he's gone past 6 innings at all this season. So maybe you like the first 5 innings there. I can't find team totals here for the first 5. I would say that might be another one to look for. But I do like the Nationals' offense to put up some runs. Just a little way. Do your research, do your digging, see what you feel comfortable with as far as Mackenzie Gore if you're trying to jump into this game. Excuse me, throat's a little scratchy today, folks. Bear with me. Cleveland and New York. I don't have a ton with this one. Quantrill and Herman on the mound for these two teams. I kind of put this one closer to a coin flip. Both of these two teams have been kind of disappointing for the most part compared to what their expectations are. Obviously, these pitchers haven't been fantastic. So I at the end of the day, I don't have a strong lean on this one. This one kind of suggests it's a coin flip with New York about minus 130 at home here. Total 8.5 is what I'm seeing there. So I'm going to breeze past that one. I don't have much of a feel for that one at all. Toronto and Boston is interesting here. You got Berríos versus Kluber. Berríos is obviously one guy. Whenever Jeff Dawson and I talk about Berríos, he is always one. Whether it's good or bad, we spend a few minutes talking about him. Kluber on the other side has been kind of all over the place this season, so that might be where you're seeing the odds on this one, the total on this one. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite confident in taking the Red Sox money line necessarily because this one could be ugly. This Toronto offense could put up a boatload of runs. They put up 8 yesterday, 7 and 8 earlier in the week last week, or towards the end of the week last week, I should say, against my White Sox. Glad we don't have to talk about them today. But at the end of the day, as far as Berríos, he's been good in his last 3. So if you've been someone who over the last couple of years has been, one of these people that follows Berríos kind of like we do over here, you might be saying to yourself that he has to be due here for a rough one. His last 3, 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned against Tampa Bay, 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs against Houston, and 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 9 Ks against the White Sox. So you get a Red Sox offense that's lately has been putting up some runs, 7 runs, 8 runs the last couple of days. Maybe you would say they're due for some regression, but at the end of the day, for us over here, it's always about Berríos, whether he's due for a good start, due for a bad start. And so I'm not diving all the way into it. Again, the price kind of suggests you get a total of 10 here. Maybe Toronto puts up 8 runs themselves. But if you're getting into this one, maybe you like to think about a little Boston to score some runs. I think you can get plus money and then just get to at least 5. Maybe in the first 5 to get the 3 runs at plus money there. So that is what I would be interested in. Not saying I'm diving all the way into it, but definitely Barrios, whatever you want to call him, always on our radar over here. Giants and Houston, Stripling versus Garcia. This one's a little goofy to get into here. Stripling, if you remember him from his Toronto days the last couple of years, he's in San Francisco. Has only gotten through 5 innings 1 time this year. He has been really, really bad. Had some spots where he had some nice starts, so it was kind of easy to pick off some regression starts. So far, it's been flat out bad for him. Maybe you say this is a spot where he's good through 5 innings. I don't know. But Garcia, on the other hand, guy that I like, he's been fantastic after these last 2 after a really slow start. 0 earned runs in each of the last 2 outings there. So honestly, at home, to see them plus money with all of that on the run line is kind of concerning to me. So I'm pumping the brakes on Houston. Not saying, would it surprise me if they win 8-0 or anything along those lines? Absolutely not. But I am pumping the brakes a little bit. The price does seem a little goofy to me. Definitely not jumping into that run line. Not saying I'm taking San Francisco necessarily, but at the end of the day, their offense is actually they've lost 3 in a row, but 11 and 4 runs scored in their last 2 losses there at San Diego. So maybe San Francisco's kind of turning something around offensively. I don't know, but at the end of the day, it does feel a little wonky with the way Garcia's pitching and the way Stripling's pitching to see the Astros at plus money here against a Giants team that's 11 and 16. So I'm going to stay far away from that one. 2 games left here. Reds and Padres. Another one that I'm kind of skipping altogether. Weaver has been, I think he's only made 2 starts and has been pretty terrible so far. Snell honestly hasn't been very good himself. I think total runs allowed maybe hasn't been that bad, but I think they've been yanking him quite a bit. I mean, he's got a 5.48 ERA, so it's obviously not good. But my point is, 3 runs or less allowed in his last 3, but 17 walks over 8 2/3 innings in the month of April here through 4 starts. So he's averaging about 4 or 5 walks a game right now. So that's why I'm going to stay far away from that one. The pitchers in this one make this one a little tough to judge. The total at 8.5, despite all of that, is a little wonky. Maybe this one is a tailor-made 2-1 game somehow with these 2 pitchers. That's where I'll go with a hard lean. I'm not by any means touching that, but with how mediocre to bad these 2 pitchers have been, to only see 8.5 for me is a little goofy. So I'll lean towards the under, but I'm not going to touch that one by any means. And then last but not least, the late one here. 9:10 my time, 10:10 East Coast time. Philly and the Dodgers. If you know Jeff Dawson, and I'm sure he will be proud of me for bringing this one up, one of his favorite rules of the MLB season, one that was very profitable last year. I know I got to talk about it here on a Monday, but it was a tough situation because it was a good team, or it was a very bad team trying to avenge or a very good team trying to break this rule against a bad team, and the good team ended up breaking the rule against the bad team. But it is the Sunday night baseball team that is traveling on the road. So the Phillies last night play Sunday night baseball in Houston as the road team. They then travel to play tonight in L.A. against the Dodgers. The traveling team after the Sunday night baseball game has been a team that has been pretty profitable to fade against going back to last year. So far this year, haven't had a bunch of a sample size. Like I said, I think the first case, I don't remember, at least that I've been able to sit here and talk about. Maybe I haven't been on these shows every single Monday, but it was like the Texas Rangers were traveling, and then they traveled to Kansas City, and DeGrom was on the mound in a bounce-back start. So it was offensively, they didn't do very well, but it was DeGrom in a bounce-back start, so it ended up being 4-0 Rangers or something like that, and they broke the rule. This time, obviously, very different situation where you have a Philly team, 15-14, traveling to the Dodgers. And the Dodgers about minus 164. So it is kind of tough to get into. Taking a run line, home team run line is obviously not the safest practice. So maybe you like to, maybe you'd rather go Phillies team total under or something like that, thinking their offense might be a little sluggish. I don't know what you like to do. That might be where I lean, not necessarily saying the Dodgers offense is going to be fantastic. I don't know quite what to expect out of there. Pitching matchup is a little goofy. Taijuan Walker obviously hasn't been very good. That's who's starting for Philly. 5 earned run his last time out. He's been a little, kind of back and forth. So he's a tough one to judge for me. Tony Gonsolin, though, for the Dodgers, obviously has been an interesting pitcher. He's been good for the Dodgers. Obviously, this is start number 2 for him. Number 1, 3 1/3 inning, only 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 3 walks, 1 K. They let him go 65 pitches. So maybe you feel good about another, maybe they let him go 4 or 5 innings this time, and you like the Dodgers minus a hook in the first 5 or something like that. I don't know. Not a huge fan of those odds, but, I would at least at the very end stay away from the traveling Phillies after the late Sunday night game into now another late Monday night game. That is where I would say for that one. But that about does it here for the MLB, my friends. Let's knock out the NHL real quick, and then we'll move over to the NBA. As I keep mentioning, anybody that's got any thoughts on this one, Game 7, Rangers and Devils, feel free to jump in there. I by no means am any NHL expert. I am just a popcorn and S's and G's fan, and that's what I've got going on tonight. I've had a Rangers future ticket in my wallet for a couple months now after or around the Patrick Kane trade to the Rangers, obviously from my Blackhawks. So rooting for Patrick Kane to have a successful run here, and that's my entertainment for the NHL playoffs as of now. The one thing that I'm saying, this line has moved basically to a pick'em. I believe the Devils were minus 115 at open. I saw minus 120 this morning, I think. Now I'm seeing across, for the most part, about minus 110, exactly minus 10 both ways here. And the public is on the Rangers, plain and simple. Wherever I'm seeing the majority, not a gross amount by any means, not 80-90% by any means. 65-70% of the public, though, from what I'm seeing, is on the Rangers. So take that for whatever it's worth on the road here. But that is the situation there. Again, anybody that's got any thoughts down there, I'll probably have some fun and go with the Patrick Kane prop or something along those lines to get some extra entertainment for myself. But again, if anyone's got any thoughts on this one, want to give an opinion about this game, feel free. I am all ears, and that is what we will do with that one. So switching gears now to the NBA, we had a pretty successful first round across the board for myself in these series. Kind of taking it lightly, choosing our spots nice and quietly, nice and sporadically, and had a nice successful run there through the first round. So far, kind of dipping our toes into the second round. I had Miami on the money line yesterday against the Knicks, so that was a good start there. As far as these two games tonight, Philly and Boston, obviously. If anyone's got any solid opinions, by all means, let me have it. But without any Joel Embiid tonight, this one's obviously tough to judge. So I will go ahead and lean towards a scrappy Sixers team without him, trying to play spirited and keep this one close, maybe stealing one without him, and then have an advantage of him coming back and getting things done. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't surprise me if the Celtics won by 20. It wouldn't surprise me if the Celtics won by 5. I guess it would surprise me if the Sixers won without Embiid, but as we've talked throughout the season, if you've seen us throughout the regular season, trying to predict these injuries in the NBA, even in the playoffs, obviously the regular season even more so, you don't want to play with it. But even in the playoffs, you really don't want to play with it. Things can get weird. A team like the the Sixers team could come in and find a way to win a game. Maybe they're hot shooting. Maybe they hold Tatum down to 15 points. I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it would not shock me. And at the end of the day, I don't know which way I would lean on this one. So if anyone's got any thoughts on this one, Sanj, go ahead and lay it down. As far as the NHL series, Billy, I've got the Rangers series and play Devils tonight. Either way, break even and get out. There you go. That's exactly great stuff there. Like I said, I didn't have the series on the Rangers. I didn't try to attack that one in any way. This one has been, for me, this one is all entertainment as far as the Rangers is. But obviously, if you can either break even at the very least or guarantee yourself some profit, that's that's the name of the game there. So hopefully this one's a fun one tonight. So as far as the second NBA game, the one that could really swing a lot of things here in the West. Phoenix and Denver. Denver -4, 229 is the total in this one. As far as Not really anything crazy as far as the public or anything like that. I think the public is leaning, from what I see. I could be wrong on this one. From what I saw, it was the public leaning just slightly to the Suns, either keeping this close or even this series up. Obviously, a lot of people kind of fall back on the back and forth mentality, especially if they think this is going to be a close series, which I think it could be. So at the end of the day, like I said, I've chose my spots very specifically and sporadically, very carefully. I don't have a strong feeling towards this one at all. At the end of the day, on paper, I kind of lean towards the Suns, even in things up, but it almost seems a little too good to be true with the back and forth mentality. So I'm going to stay away from it tonight. At the end of the day, it really would not shock me if Denver came out and took care of business today. Again, their offense is playing really, really well right now. Suns, at the end of the day, lost him. As much as I respect Kevin Durant, and I, for a long point after they made that trade, the Suns have been my pick, and I guess I'll maintain them as my pick, at least on paper. But seems a little too good to be true, if you ask me. I will lean towards the Suns tonight on paper, but it would not shock me at all if the Nuggets win this game. At least, obviously, it's a 4-point spread, so they could win by a few. Wouldn't shock me if they won another one by 8, 9, 10 points, and the Denver Nuggets just look like the team to beat out West without a doubt if they haven't been already. So, and curious if anyone's got any other thoughts on that one. Again, I'll have stronger thoughts as the NBA playoffs continue. As far as tomorrow night is concerned, I know there's two more, obviously. Lakers and Golden State getting started up tomorrow night. I mentioned Miami and the Knicks. Not sure what the status of Jimmy Butler is. Almost would expect him to sit out for Game 2 there with his ankle injury, unless he's 110% fine and there's no lingering issues. It would behoove them to sit him out and push their chips into going back to Miami and trying to take Game 3 and 4 there. So. Apologies, I didn't have stronger thoughts on the NBA tonight. I know I previously had some stronger thoughts, and we had some success on these NBA games. But, just tread lightly tonight. There's nothing really glaring that I think you can pick out of these games. Honestly, I guess the one lean, I would almost feel comfortable leaning towards the under in this game tonight. But that's kind of a lean as well. So. Don't have anything too strong there. Almost feel more confident in a couple MLB games tonight. So whatever you do, my friends, as I said, I'll keep things short and sweet for the most part. But whatever you do tonight and the rest of this week going forward, best of luck. Stay true to yourself and wager responsibly. You will see me the rest of this week on these shows. I know at least Tuesday, Wednesday, as far as breaking down MLB and NBA, MLB games and NBA playoffs. I believe I will have something for the weekend golf tournament. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I am circling the wagons looking to jump into that as well. So stay tuned and be on the lookout for that. But aside from that, that is it for today's programming on East Coast Sports Investors as far as I am concerned. So without further ado, I will get out of here. Stay tuned for any updates for tomorrow and the rest of the week on our shows. But nonetheless, thank you all for stopping by, and I hope you have a very, very solid night and the rest of the week here of action. Thanks.